Welcome to another edition of Grez. We are in front of the grave of Joseph Anthony Colombo Sr., Joe Colombo, the boss of the Colombo crime family. One of the 5 families of the American Mafia in New York City. Born in 1923, as you see a picture of Mr. Colombo. Born in New York City, where his father was an early member of what was then the Profaci crime family. Born in 1923, he had gone actually to the U.S. Coast Guard in 1945, diagnosed with neurolysis and discharged from the service. Had legitimate jobs, 10 years as a longshoreman, 6 years as a salesman for a meat company. Actually, even a real estate salesman. Imagine selling real estate where this day and age now, today, homes are selling well 100,000 over asking price. But that's another subject for another day. Colombo followed his father into the Profaci crime family. He became one of the family's top enforcers and soon became a capo. In February of '61, the gallows kidnapped 4 of Profaci's top men. Profaci himself eluded capture and flew to sanctuary. He hid out in Florida. While holding the hostages, Larry and Albert Gallo sent Joe Gallo to California. The Gallows demanded a more favorable financial scheme for the hostages' release. Gallo wanted to kill one hostage and demanded $100,000 before negotiation, but his brother Larry overruled him. This is the first Colombo War. After a few weeks of negotiation, Profaci made a deal with the Gallows. However, Profaci had no intention of honoring his peace agreement. In August of 1961, Joe Profaci ordered the murder of Gallo members Joe Jelly, Larry Gallo. Gunmen allegedly murdered Joe Jelly after inviting him to go fishing. Larry Gallo survived a strangulation attempt in the Sahara Club of East Flatbush after a police officer intervened. The Gallows then began calling BS after they were betrayed by. They began calling Presidio the Snake. And remember, the Gallo brothers had been previously aligned with Presidio against Profaci and his loyalists. So after calling him the Snake, after the Gallows thought that he had betrayed them, the war continued on, resulting in 9 murders, 3 disappearances. With the start of the gang war, the Gallo crew retreated to the dormitory. So in late November of 1961, Gallo was sentenced to 7 to 14 years in prison. Next year, Profaci died, succeeded by underboss Joe Magliocco. In '63, Bananin, the head of the Bananin crime family, made plans to assassinates several rivals on the Mafia Commission: Tommy Lucchese, Carlo Gambino, Stefano Magladino, as well as Frank DiSimo. Now, I'm sure I'm butchering some of these names. Please forgive me. Bonanno sought Magliocco's support, and Magliocco readily agreed. Not only was he bitter for being denied a seat on the commission, but Bonanno and Profaci had been close allies for over 30 years prior to Profaci's death. Bonanno's audacious goal was to take over the commission and make Magliocco his right-hand man. Now, Magliocco was assigned the task of getting rid of Lucchese and Gambino, and he gave that contract to one of his top men, Colombo. However, Colombo revealed the plot to its targets. The other bosses quickly realized that Magliocco could not have planned this himself. Remembering how close Bonanno was with Magliocco, and before him Profaci, as well as their close ties through marriages, the other bosses concluded Bonanno was the real mastermind. The commission summoned Bonanno and Magliocco to explain themselves. Fearing for his life, Bonanno went into hiding in Montreal, leaving Magliocco to deal with the commission. Badly shaken and failing health, Magliocco confessed his role in the plot. The commission spared him his life, but forced him to retire as a Profaci family boss and pay a $50,000 fine. As a reward for turning on his boss, Colombo now was awarded the Profaci family. And at the age of 41, he was one of the youngest crime bosses in the country. Also, first American-born boss of a New York crime family. When NYPD detective, later the chief of detectives, called Colombo in for questioning about the death of one of his soldiers, Colombo came to the meeting without a lawyer. He told detectives, "I am an American citizen, first class. I don't have a badge that makes me an official good guy like you, but I work just as honest for a living." And these are pictures, as you could see, which were at the time of his death, which was a big thing in a rally, which we will get into. And there he is. He was shot, and we will get to that. Paralyzed for a good part of his later life, as he was only 54 when he passed away. Sentenced to 30 days in jail for contempt by refusing to answer questions from a grand jury about his financial affairs. That's in 1966, and let's kind of get into the Italian-American Civil Rights League. This is kind of what started, what he was known for. He probably the biggest thing that he was known for. Let me rephrase that. He created the Italian-American Civil Rights League the month that his son Joe Colombo was charged with melting down coins for resale as silver. In response, Joe Colombo claimed FBI harassment of Italian Americans, and on April 30th, 1970, he said he sent 70 protesters outside of FBI headquarters, 3rd and 69th Street, to protest the federal persecution. The persecution now of all Italians everywhere. It went on for weeks. So, June 29th, 1970, you had 50,000 people attended the first Italian Unity Day rally in Columbus Circle, New York City. February of 1971, Colombo Jr. was acquitted of all the charges after the chief witness in the trial had been arrested on perjury charges. Now, under Colombo's guidance, the league grew quickly and achieved national attention. Unlike other mob leaders who shunned the spotlight, Colombo, he appeared on TV interviews, fundraisers, speaking engagements. In 71, Colombo aligned the league with rabbi and political activist Kahani's Jewish Defense League, claiming that both groups were being harassed by the federal government. At one point, Colombo posted bail for 11 jailed JDL members. So, Colombo was paralyzed at one of these rallies from the shooting. Spent 2 months at a hospital in Manhattan, moved to his estate in Boone Grove. Basically, he's paralyzed, unable to walk, not of his former self. He was only able to move his thumb and his forefinger on his right hand. They said that he could recognize people, others, and other like small words, but he was pretty much never the same, almost in a vegetative state. Died in 1978, 7 years after being shot, of cardiac arrest. Many in the Colombo family, they blamed Gallo for the shooting, but the police eventually concluded that Johnson was the lone gunman after they had questioned Gallo. Since Johnson had spent time a few days earlier at a Gambino club, one theory was that Carlo Gambino organized the shooting. Now, Colombo refused to listen to Gambino's complaints about the league and allegedly spat into Gambino's face during one argument. However, the Colombo family leadership was convinced that Joe Gallo ordered the murder after his falling out with the family. Joe Gallo, by the way, in case you were wondering, well, he died in April of 1972. He was murdered. What a story. Jeez. And, well, in case you actually wondered, too, Colombo actually helped assist with the filming of The Godfather. Due to that, subject matter, the film originally faced great opposition from Italian Americans to filming in New York. But, producer Albert Rudy, he met with Colombo and agreed to kind of excise the terms mafia, sponge them away, along with Cosa Nostra from the film. And with that, the league kind of allow for the filming of the movie.
Summarize what you said at the service.
Yeah, I just called Joe Colombo
Here
a
we
martyr
are,
for the Italian-American cause.
looking at the events
because he
that
put this thing forward.
Day.
He came forward, and in being forward, he actually defended the Italian cause. And doing that, he was
years
actually
later
killed
expressing
in this effort.
Did you say anything about the news media?
The news media was horrible.
And you have a
You
video
were present, by the way, the day that Mr.
right
Colombo
after this one
Anointed him. I was there. Yes.
with a newscast.
Mobster Joe Colombo outlived his assassins by 7 years, but never is anything resembling what he once was, never more than a paralyzed and comatose vegetable. 2 weeks ago, in critical condition, Colombo was taken to a hospital at Newburgh, New York, And that's where he died last night at 54 years of age. Lawmen seem to feel that his death will mean nothing in the power structure of organized crime because Colombo, in effect, was killed at Columbus Circle on June 28th of 1971. Steve Bauman recalls the Colombo career and the decision that brought his demise.
Back in the spring of 1970, many people found it rather hard to believe. Joe Colombo had organized a picket line around FBI headquarters in Manhattan. Several news programs didn't even cover the protest the first few times, but Colombo persisted. He claimed the Bureau had tainted all Italian Americans with the label Mafia and had engaged in a personal vendetta against him and his family. A couple of months earlier, his son had been arrested on a charge of melting down U.S. coins for their silver value. He would later be exonerated. Joe Sr. had also been arrested on a perjury charge and indicted for alleged income tax evasion. Many court appearances later, while he was seeking a stay of sentence, Colombo gave his view to a reporter.
I believe that the law of our land, that the judges are fair, that this is a thing that they would give to anyone.
Legal problems continued, including charges that he operated a $10 million a year gambling operation. Colombo continued building the organization that grew out of the FBI protest, the Italian American Civil Rights League. June 28, 71 would be their second rally in Columbus Circle, and more than 50,000 were expected to attend. But just as it was about to begin, Colombo was shot 3 times at close range. The apparent gunman, a black man named Jerome Johnson, was killed instantly by gunfire from someone who's never been identified. Minutes after, Colombo was rushed away in an ambulance, paralyzed as he would be for the rest of his life. The rest of crowds were led in prayer by Father Louis Gigante, who had delivered the invocation for the rally.
Let us sustain our daily bread and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us.